The phone lit at exactly midnight, a blue rectangle in the dark bedroom, and the name on the screen was a word that didn't belong there, Coach. My wife flinched so slightly I might have missed it if I hadn't been staring at the ceiling counting tomorrow's problems. The ringtone was on silent, but the light kept pulsing, a lighthouse beam across sheets that still smelled like her shampoo. "You awake?" she asked, voice too even. "I am now." "Who's Coach?" "School thing," she murmured. "Charity 5K. He forgets time zones." "Midnight though?" "He's a runner." A quick laugh. "They're all crazy." A second buzz. She tucked the phone under her pillow and rolled onto her side back to me. The room settled, but inside my chest something stayed standing, still and watchful. I counted the seconds between buzzes. 10. 21. 34. Silence. Maya can make any story sound safe. It's a gift she uses on clients, neighbors, me. It's how we bought a house that needed 2 miracles. "It has soul," she'd said, and I'd believed her. I tried to believe her now. At 12:07, when her breathing deepened, I slid out of bed and went downstairs. The refrigerator light was surgical. I opened the back door and stood on the porch while the street slept like a tame animal. That was when the second phone buzzed. The vibration came from the mudroom, her gym bag. The zipper was cracked a finger's width. A small screen glowed with a preview that didn't fit charity runs or absent-minded time zones. "You still up? Could use your voice to clear my head." "See." I told myself C could be anyone. Carla from choir, Chris next door, Clara who loves dahlias. Coach, the caller ID had said. C for Coach. I lifted the bag. The phone wore a matte gray case I'd never seen. Fingerprint sensor, no stickers, no history. I set it down. The screen dimmed. I told myself I would put it back. Then it lit again. Missed call, Coach. One new message, leaving the field. Can swing by if the porch lights off. Same as before? I didn't answer. Porches, lights, swings, code written in furniture and electricity. Same as before. If you looked fast, it could be about spreadsheets. I manage projects for a living. People hide priorities inside harmless labels and let the labels do the smiling. I set the phone back like it was sleeping and went upstairs to a bed that felt borrowed. Maya murmured something when I slid in, a soft syllable that could have been my name. I watched the window brighten with the moon. At 2:14, I gave in to a tiredness that wasn't sleep but anesthesia. Morning had the polite brightness of a small-town diner. Maya brewed coffee, humming, her robe tied like a neat bow on a wrapped secret. "You're up early," she said. "Couldn't sleep. Big presentation?" She handed me a mug. Cinnamon steam rose. "Something like that." I sipped. "Did Coach get his miles in?" She blinked. "What?" "Midnight call," I said lightly. "Your phone announced him." "Oh." She looked at the toaster as if the answer might be written there. "Yeah, weird, right? He forgets time." I turned my phone off after. The gym bag sat by the door. I considered asking whether charity runs needed burner phones. Instead I asked for toast. Relief flickered across her face, quick and almost tender. When she left for her morning class, the door clicked like always, but the air that rushed in after she was gone felt colder. The hallway photos watched me, beach hair, borrowed sun. In every picture the camera loved us. That wasn't the camera's fault. Go to work, I told myself. Let the day carry you. I almost managed it. Then my phone chimed, a calendar square I didn't remember setting. Booster club meeting, 7 p.m. high school gym. I don't do booster clubs. Maya does. The invite came from her account to ours, a relic from when we forgot boundaries because we were too busy planning forever. I accepted the meeting. By 6:30 the school parking lot glowed and the gym smelled like floor polish and oranges. Banners sagged from last season's victories. Parents clustered in small clouds of cologne and gossip. Maya stood near the bleachers. When she saw me, surprise flickered, then the smile. "You made it," she said, touching my arm. "You invited me," I said. "Thought you might want to help with sign-ups." "Always helpful," I answered. A man in a windbreaker spoke to 2 girls in varsity jackets. Close-cropped hair, sun-creased eyes, a voice that carried without trying. When he turned, the room checked him the way birds check the sky. "Coach Rivera," Maya said, following my gaze. "Girls soccer." Rivera stepped toward us. "Evening," he said. His eyes registered me, then slid to Maya. "Good turnout." "Always is," she replied. "Coach, this is my husband, Ethan." Husband hung there between us, an ornament and a test. Rivera's handshake was dry and certain. "Nice to meet you," he said. "You two doing the 5K? Maya promised she'd pace me. Promises are funny, I said and watched both of them pretend not to flinch. Sign-up sheets rustled. On the far wall, a banner read Family First. I wrote our last name on a volunteer form I didn't intend to honor. When the meeting broke, Rivera lingered by the exit. Maya lingered too. Their conversation wore casual clothes, but their pauses were dressed for evening. I walked up and offered to carry the donation box to the office. "I've got it," Rivera said, taking it from her with the ease of someone who has taken other things. "See you tomorrow, Coach," Maya said softly. "Porch light," he replied just as softly, and my skin went cold because some codes don't bother to hide. The code wasn't meant for me. I didn't speak in the car. The night rode with us, buckled between the seats, whispering over the hum of the heater. Maya stole glances when she thought I wasn't looking. Her profile, the curve of cheek, the neat tuck of hair, felt like a photograph of someone I once knew. "You were quiet tonight," she said. "Listening," I answered. "To what?" "Codes." Her fingers tightened on the wheel just a fraction. "You okay?" "Just tired." The house looked staged when we pulled up, porch light already on, warm like a command. "For Coach." "For porch light." "Same as before." Maya turned it off with a quick flick, too quick, then hung her keys on the hook like clockwork. "You want tea?" she asked. "Sure." I watched her boil water the way people watch someone pack a suitcase, looking for small betrayals and small motions. When she handed me the mug, our fingers brushed. The spark felt like habit, not electricity. She went upstairs first. I stayed in the kitchen, sipping until the steam vanished. When I followed, she was sitting on the bed, scrolling her main phone. The gray one was nowhere. She smiled up at me like a student waiting for a grade. "Everything okay?" "I'll shower." The door closed behind me. Steam blurred the mirror. I let hot water hit my neck until my heartbeat slowed enough to hear something beneath it. Choice. I could pretend ignorance until the truth went quiet. Or I could open the door. Pain was guaranteed. The only variable was timing. When I came out, Maya was already under the comforter, her breathing patterned. I lay beside her, eyes open, thinking about the porch light and what it meant for a man who wasn't me. At 12:03 I heard footsteps outside. Light, fast, confident. They paused at the door. I sat up. She didn't move, sleeping, real or clever. I padded to the window, lifting the curtain an inch. A silhouette stood at the gate, hands in pockets. He didn't knock. He waited. I waited. Minutes stretched like chewing gum, thin, sticky, fragile. Finally he walked away, shoulders loose, unbothered. I watched him disappear into the dark, swallowed by a neighborhood that didn't know its own stories. Morning came with routine. Cereal, sunlight, unspoken tension. "You left early," she said. "Walked." "Everything okay?" "Great." She nodded, smiling almost gratefully at the lie. After she left, I found the gray phone inside a jacket pocket. No password, just a thumbprint sensor. I pressed my index finger. It opened. Unless, she'd registered my print long ago for convenience. A convenience I now used like a scalpel. There were message threads labeled with single letters. CRT Coach with C. Rivera. Another contact, L. Another, Atlas. No names, just fragments. All messages deleted except a few. Tonight was quiet. Porch or field. Then. Same as before? Porch light off. Then. I missed your voice. 3 sentences, 3 detonations. I scrolled back. Older fragments buried in system pockets. Recovered but not erased. Half conversations, half confessions. Need time. Still thinking. That wasn't the plan. You know. The last entry was yesterday. House tonight. Talk. I backed out of messages and checked photos. Nothing. Voice memos locked. I tried my thumb. It opened. 1 file. 15 seconds. Room tone, then her whisper. "I feel safer with you." My stomach twisted. I sat at the kitchen table and replayed it 4 times. Safer. With him. The word safer burned more than want or need. I sent myself screenshots. Then I placed the phone exactly where I found it, jacket zipped just enough that only someone who knew would know. At work, spreadsheets blurred. My boss called twice. I answered neither. At lunch, I sat under a maple tree, crunching leaves under shoes that felt too clean for what I carried. I Googled Rivera. Assistant coach. Former semi-pro midfielder. Volunteer mentor for at-risk teens. No scandals. No social media except a locked Instagram with a team photo. A life built for trust. A perfect ghost. That evening, I told Maya I'd be late. She kissed my cheek absent-mindedly, the way people tap a screen to dismiss a notification. I drove to the school. No cars except Rivera's truck at the far end. Field lights were off, only the administrative building glowed. The back door was ajar. Hallway lights humming. I walked slowly, floor wax made my shoes whisper. From an office ahead, voices. He knows something. A woman. Maya. We were careful, Rivera replied. We're. Past tense. He came to the meeting, she said. He never comes. So. Come. Annoyingly calm. He heard us, she said. You said porch light. Aside. A creak, chair shifting. It doesn't change what we need to do, Rivera said. Need to do. What if he asks questions? Maya whispered. Then you tell him the truth. Which part? The silence held knives. That we're working with Atlas, Rivera said quietly. My heartbeat stalled. Atlas. The other contact. Not a name, an operation. A code. I stepped closer, barely breathing. And if he figures out why, she asked, then we'll have to make him part of it. What if he says no? A pause, long enough to hear lights buzzing like interrogators. Then he becomes a problem, Rivera said. And problems get reassigned. Reassigned. A word that belonged to companies or armies. Not homes. Not marriages. Chairs scraped. Footsteps. I moved back, ducking into the girls' locker room. I crouched behind a row of metal lockers, breath thin. Their steps echoed down the hall, then faded. A door thudded shut. I exhaled slowly, feeling the world reorder itself. This wasn't an affair. Or it wasn't only an affair. It was something bigger. And everything I thought I knew, about Maya, about us, was just a mask stretched over a stranger. I waited 5 minutes, then slipped out the side door. The night pressed close, heavy and listening. At home I lay awake. At 2:15 I felt Maya climbing beside me. She settled with a sigh, the sound of a woman who believed the world was still asleep. I wasn't. The next day I visited someone I hadn't seen in a year, my brother Daniel. He lived 20 minutes away and preferred distance to relationship. He answered the door barefoot, tattoos climbing his forearms, maps of past lives he never explained. You look like you swallowed a secret, he said. I told him everything I'd seen and heard. His face didn't change, but something behind his eyes sharpened. You sure you want to keep digging? He asked. I don't think I have a choice. He nodded. Then you should meet someone. Who? A guy who explains storms before they hit. What's his name? Ray, Daniel said. He used to work Blackside. If Atlas is the same Atlas I'm thinking, you're in deeper than infidelity. What is Atlas? I asked. He looked at me with a mix of pity and respect. A network, he said. The kind that doesn't advertise. I swallowed. And Maya? She's either in it, or caught by it. Which was worse. I didn't know. I wasn't sure I wanted to. I met Ray in the back booth of a coffee shop that tried too hard. Industrial lights, reclaimed wood, beans described like wine. He was younger than I expected, late 30s maybe, clean-shaven, hair cropped short. He sat with his back to the wall, hands visible, a habit you don't learn from sports. Daniel vouches for you, he said as I slid in. That's the only reason I'm here. I appreciate it. You won't. A server dropped off 2 mugs. I hadn't ordered. Ray didn't apologize, just waited until she left. Tell me. So I did. Midnight calls. Burner phone. The meeting. Atlas. Rivera's voice saying I'd become a problem. I half expected Ray to laugh, to tell me I'd misheard. But when I said the name Atlas again, his jaw tightened. You're sure? He asked. I heard it. He leaned back, eyes scanning the room casually. There are a few Atlases out there. One's a non-profit for veterans. One's a logistics startup. One's not on paper. Which one is yours? He ignored the question. What did your wife say to him? Word for word. She asked what to tell me. He said, tell him the truth. She asked, which part? Ray nodded. Good. That's good. Good how? It means she hasn't committed fully yet. She's still on the edge. Of what? He stared at me. Before I tell you, I need to know. Do you think she's cheating? Yes or no? I don't know anymore. He smiled, faint and tired. That's the right answer. Affairs are rarely just affairs. People think infidelity is about desire. It's usually about leverage. I didn't have a reply. Atlas recruits civilians sometimes, he said. People with clean records. People who blend. Teachers. Nurses. Coaches. They run information channels. Not spies, listeners. They collect soft intel. Conversations, access, routines. Nothing flashy. Just details. Why? Because the right detail can topple anything. A marriage. A company. A foreign exchange syndicate. Suspicion crawled up my spine. So Maya's what, an asset? Maybe. Or she's just useful to someone who is. He stirred his coffee but didn't drink it. You said the contact list used letters. CRT. That's deliberate compartmentalization. People only know what they need. If she has multiple points of contact, she's feeding something. I shook my head. She teaches fitness classes and runs charity races. Exactly. Perfect cover. She meets people in routines that don't raise questions. What would she be collecting? Could be nothing. Could be data. Schedules. Personnel. The kind of info someone builds a map from. A cold thought landed. What would Coach want from her? He might not want anything. He might just be her handler. Even the word tasted wrong. She said she felt safer with him. I said. Ray studied me. That's the trap. A handler makes you feel seen. Protected. Useful. They replace your conscience with loyalty. I remembered her whisper, I feel safer with you. How do I find out what she's doing? Ray slid a card across the table. Blank except for a number. You don't. Not alone. You give me everything, screenshots, recordings, anything you've touched. If she's involved, Atlas will already be watching you. I haven't confronted her. Good. Keep it that way. What about Rivera? If he's frontline, he's trained. Don't provoke him. Ray stood. If you hear the name again, text me immediately. And Ethan? Yes. Don't play hero. People disappear around Atlas. He walked out, leaving the coffee untouched. I sat there until the room blurred with motion. When I finally stood, my legs felt borrowed. At home, Maya was painting her toenails, casual domesticity. She looked up like nothing in the world was wrong. How was your day? She asked. Fine, I lied. She smiled. Dinner's in the oven. Chicken and herbs. It hit me then, how deeply life can camouflage danger. I kissed her forehead. She leaned into it, trusting. I felt like a surgeon touching the patient who didn't know the diagnosis. We ate. Talked about traffic and weather, her new playlist. Nothing about midnight. Nothing about porch lights. Her laugh sounded exactly like it used to. That scared me more than anything. After dinner she went to shower. I checked the jacket again. The gray phone wasn't there. Upstairs, water rushed. From her closet, I heard a faint vibration. I found the phone under a stack of folded shirts. A new text. Feel. 11:40. Alone. No name. No signature. Just instruction. I memorized it, returned the phone, closed the closet. At 10:55 I told her I was heading to the pharmacy, headache. She called from the bathroom, voice light beneath steam. Want me to rub your temples when you get back? Maybe, I said. I didn't go to the pharmacy. The field behind the school was darker at night, lined with trees that seemed too tall. I parked behind a maintenance shed and watched. At 11:38, Rivera's truck rolled in without headlights. He walked to center field, stood with hands in pockets. At 11:41, Maya stepped out of the shadows. She wore a long coat, hair tucked into a beanie. She didn't hesitate. She walked straight to him. He touched her arm, not intimate, but with certainty. I cracked the window. Not sure how much he knows, she said. Rivera replied, voice low. Doesn't matter. If he's noticed the calls, we move up the schedule. We're not ready, she whispered. We never are. That's why it works. What about Atlas? She asked. He's already in the loop. I gripped the steering wheel. He's a good man, she said, voice trembling just enough. He didn't ask for this. That's why he's a good asset, Rivera said. He won't question what he thinks is loyalty. Asset. I leaned forward. Maya's breath showed white in the air. What if he refuses? She asked. Rivera paused. Then we bring him in under pressure. And if that fails? His silence was the answer. No, Maya said, stepping back. No. You said nobody gets hurt. I said nobody important gets hurt. She slapped him. He didn't react. You think you're protecting him by shielding him. But the longer he stays in the dark, the more dangerous it is. For him. And for you. Maya trembled. He trusts me. Good, Rivera said. That's step one. I stopped breathing. Maya whispered, he'll never forgive me. Rivera's reply was a knife. He doesn't have to forgive you. He just has to follow you. My pulse hammered. I ducked as they turned. Rivera scanned the field, eyes predator sharp. I slid lower in the seat. After a moment, he nodded toward the trees and walked away. Maya watched his retreat, hugging herself. then left by a side path. I didn't follow her. I waited until the field was empty. Then I pulled out Ray's card and took a photo of the coordinates. At home she was in bed reading like she'd been there all night. Her smile was warm. Headache better? Yeah, I said. She kissed me. I tasted mint and lies. She fell asleep in minutes. I lay beside her, listening to the rhythm she'd always had, steady, peaceful. My hand hovered above her shoulder, inches from truth, inches from a woman I no longer recognized. Morning brought sunlight and normalcy. She left for class. I left for Ray. He studied the recording I'd made from the car. This isn't casual, he said. This is mid-stage recruitment. If she's resisting, that's good. Means she still thinks she has choices. What do I do? You watch. And you prepare. For what? Ray met my eyes. For the moment she stops resisting. I walked out into the morning, and for the first time since this began, I felt something unfamiliar threading through the fear. I wasn't just watching my marriage unravel. I was watching my life get drafted into a war I didn't understand. That I didn't go home right away. I drove without destination until the highway lost its lights and the sky grew wide around me. I kept seeing her under those stadium bulbs, small, unsure, speaking words that belonged to someone being recruited into something she didn't fully understand. Or maybe she understood completely. Maybe I was the only one who didn't. Near dawn, I parked at a rest stop and slept in short, fractured bursts, dreams splintered with images of porch lights, locker rooms, and a man in a windbreaker promising safety with a threat wrapped inside. When I finally turned back toward town, the sun was already warming pavement, bleaching last night into memory. At home the house was quiet. Maya's car was gone. Her shoes were missing from the entryway. I walked into the kitchen. On the counter sat a glass of green juice and a folded note. You went to the studio early. New routine. Back by noon. So, the handwriting was hers. Soft curves, confident lines. I read it twice as if meaning lived in the spaces. I checked her closet. The gray phone was gone. I showered and stood there longer than needed. When I came out, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Unknown. We need to talk. Known. The pier. Come alone. No name. No signature. Not Ray's number. I stared at the message until the letters blurred. A second text arrived. If you bring him, this ends differently. They knew. I replied only, I'll come. Then I erased the thread and left. The pier sat at the far end of the waterfront district, where tourists went for shops and locals went for memories. By noon, it was warm enough for gulls to circle, knives of white against blue. I parked, walked past a line of fishermen, and saw her immediately. Maya leaned against a railing, hair caught in the wind, wearing a denim jacket and sunglasses that hid her eyes. She looked ordinary. Like Saturday errands and casual brunch. If you passed her, you would never imagine she might be tangled in an invisible network with a name that didn't belong to any government I recognized. She lifted her head when I approached. You came alone, she said. You asked. She nodded. Thank you. I wanted to ask 100 questions. Only one came out. What is Atlas? Her lips pressed together. She removed her sunglasses. Her eyes were tired, the kind of tired that usually comes from grief, not secrets. You heard that, she whispered. I heard a lot. She looked at the water before answering. I didn't want you involved. You involved me the moment you hid phones in closets. That wasn't, she stopped herself. I'm trying to protect you. From who? Rivera? She shook her head. He's just a link. One of many. But he's not the center. He's not the one you should fear. Then who? She took a breath. Atlas isn't a person. It's a web. A structure. The people inside it don't always know who's above them. That's intentional. That sounds like a cult with better branding. A faint smile flickered. It's not religion. It's information. The kind that recruits coaches and housewives? The smile vanished. Yes. I waited. She continued. It started with an app. A personal safety program, community alerts, risk reports, missing person support. The kind of thing that makes you feel connected. One day someone reached out. Asked if I'd be willing to pass along information. Nothing serious, event schedules, after-school changes, which doors stayed unlocked during weekend practices. It felt harmless. Helpful. Then it became expectations. Meetings. Requests I didn't understand. She rubbed her eyes like the memory stung. When did Rivera come in? A year ago. He's trained. He notices everything. He said Atlas needed people like me. Quiet watchers. He made it sound noble. Better us than them. But he never said who they were. I leaned back, absorbing each word. What do they want from you now? She hesitated. They want you. My blood cooled. Why? Because you're smart. Careful. You don't speak until you know where the floor is. They want people who think like that. And if I say no? That's the problem, she whispered. Saying no isn't always an option. I stared at her, searching her face for the woman I knew. Why didn't you tell me? Months ago? I tried, she said. The night I told you I wanted us to take a break. Do you remember? I didn't mean us. I meant them. I wanted out. But you didn't. Her voice cracked. They don't let people leave easily. Wind cut across the pier. Maya gripped the railing, knuckles pale. They wanted leverage, she said. Something that kept me compliant. They used fear at first. Then they used connection. They made me feel like I mattered, that I was helping people. But you know what scares me most? What? That maybe a part of me liked it. She covered her face, breathing uneven. I moved closer. Maya, did you sleep with him? She dropped her hands slowly, eyes glassy. No, she said. I swear to you, Ethan, I didn't. He pushed the boundary once. I shut it down. But I was already in too deep. Stopping didn't mean leaving. I scanned her face. Could I believe her? The whisper on the recording, I feel safer with you, echoed inside me. It didn't sound like seduction. It sounded like confession. Why me? I asked quietly. She swallowed. Because they look for partners who can be shaped, guided. They thought you could be convinced, brought inside. Rivera thinks you already are. I'm not. I know. Which means they'll watch you. They'll want to see your choices. They'll want to know what you do with what you know. A gull screeched overhead. The water moved like muscle beneath us. What happens now? I asked. Her answer was almost a plea. You have to pretend. To be what? Unaware. Uninterested. You have to act like none of this matters. Because the more you push, the faster they'll close in. I thought of Ray. I'm not alone. She flinched. Don't trust him too much. People in this world aren't what they seem. Some of them think they're helping. Some are helping against their will. And some are helping because they want to. Her phone vibrated. She checked the screen and fear rippled across her expression. They're testing, she whispered. We need to go. She put her sunglasses on, face resetting into something neutral. She walked away without waiting. For a moment I stood there, the sea below, gulls above, the railing cold under my hand. The world hadn't changed. Only my place in it had. When I reached the parking lot, she was already in her car. She mouthed I'm sorry and drove away. I watched her disappear between pedestrians who would never know that an invisible machine had swallowed someone they'd smile at in the grocery aisle. I got in my car and sat still. A text pinged. Your time starts now. No signature. The game had changed. I wasn't just observing anymore. I was on the board. For the rest of the day, I felt like a man walking through his own house underwater. Everything familiar but slow, muffled, fragile. Every doorknob felt changed. Every shadow seemed to be watching me back. I didn't tell Ray about the pier. Not immediately. Before I called him, I needed to feel my own pulse in this. I needed to know whether I was acting out of fear or clarity. When I finally dialed, he answered before the first ring finished. You're being tailed, he said. I froze. How do you know? I put a passive ping on your car. Someone's been tracking you since last night. Heat climbed my shoulders. Atlas. Probably. Anyone approach you? No. I met with her. Silence. Then, I told you not to go alone. I had to. No, Ray said. You wanted to. I didn't argue. What did she tell you? That Atlas wants me. That they're watching. True. They always watch before they act. And Rivera. Rivera's small. The ones above him won't show their faces. They'll never appear in any contact list. She said not to trust you. Ray exhaled slowly. Good. That means she's still thinking for herself. Why would she say that? Because I used to be an Atlas. Everything in my ribs turned brittle. What? I told you I'd worked with them before. But you assumed it was from the outside. He hesitated. I wasn't. I was inside. Embedded. Years ago. The room seemed to tilt. Then why did you leave? He answered without hesitation. Because I saw what happens to people who stay. And what's that? They stop knowing who they are. I thought of Maya whispering I feel safer with you, her voice like someone trying to convince herself. How do I stop it? I asked. You don't stop Atlas, he said. You survive it. And you decide who you want to be on the other side. I braced a hand on the counter. What happens next? You wait, Ray said. They'll contact you. A test probably. Something small. What kind of test? Trust. Obedience. Curiosity. I'm not joining. That's not a choice they offer. I didn't like his tone, the finality of it. Ethan, he added carefully, I know you think this is about your marriage. It isn't. That's just the doorway. What if I refuse to walk through it? Then you better seal every exit. And hope they forget. That sounds impossible. It is. I heard him shifting papers. Listen to me. Don't confront her again. Don't ask more questions. Don't push. Let them think you're overwhelmed. Quiet. Compliant. They don't bother with people who look small. I hated the taste of that. You want me to play weak. I want you alive. The line clicked dead. I sat at the kitchen table for a long time, fingers pressed into the wood, feeling the grain like braille. Messages lived in textures now. In shadows. In porch lights. At 6:27 p.m., Maya came home. She dropped her bag by the door. Her smile was small, aching. Hey. Hey. She searched my face for injury or anger and found neither. Her shoulders sagged with something like relief. I cooked dinner, pasta with pesto, her favorite. We moved around each other with careful choreography. Not touching. Not avoiding. Just measuring. Halfway through the meal, her phone buzzed. The gray one. She stiffened. You can get it, I said. She shook her head. It can wait. That, more than anything, frightened me. She was trying to prove something, and proving is a kind of prison. What did they say? I asked. Nothing important. She twirled pasta around her fork, eating but not tasting. How was work? Quiet. We spoke like strangers borrowing scripts. After dinner, I washed dishes. She dried. It was too normal, wrong in its normalcy. She leaned against the counter, dish towel in hand. I'm sorry, she whispered. I nodded just once. Are you angry? She asked. I'm scared. She looked down. So am I. We went to bed early. She curled against me like she used to. Her breathing wasn't peaceful. It was anxious, shallow. She gripped my shirt in her sleep like someone scared of falling off the world. At 2:08 a.m., a faint tapping reached the window, 3 light knocks. My muscles froze. Maya's breath caught and I felt her go rigid. Tup, tup, tup. She sat up slowly. Don't, I whispered. Her eyes were wide in the dark. She shook her head once hard. I have to. She slipped from the bed and padded to the window. Peeking through the blinds, she exhaled, a small relief. It's just a drop, she whispered. Hey, what? She didn't explain. She opened the window silently, reached out, and pulled in a small black envelope. Then, seal. She closed the blinds, climbed back into bed, and set the envelope on her nightstand like a piece of fruit she was afraid to taste. You're not going to open it? I asked. Not now. When? When I'm supposed to. I stared at the ceiling. What if it's for me? It's not. How do you know? Her voice was small. Because they wouldn't be that subtle. We lay like that until sunrise, her awake, me pretending, both breathing carefully so we didn't disturb whatever invisible creature had settled in the room. Morning light softened nothing. The envelope sat like a threat wrapped in silence. While she showered, I stared at it. Smooth. Unmarked. Weightless, like a message from a future written in code. I considered opening it. I almost did. Instead, I left it where it was. That somehow felt more dangerous. At 10, Ray texted. Step back. Let them lead. When they reach for you, don't flinch. That's how you learn what they want. I replied. They dropped something. Black envelope. Seconds later. Don't open it. Not yet. I typed. What's inside? Ray answered. A door. One you only walk through once. My chest tightened. Then what? His reply came slower. Then everything changes. I closed the message thread. The envelope seemed to hum. I backed away from the nightstand like it might burn. At noon, Maya said she needed fresh air. She tucked the envelope into her jacket and left without another word. I watched her drive away. 5 minutes later, a white sedan rolled down our street. No plates. Windows tinted too dark. It slowed in front of our house. Stopped. A beat. Then continued. My phone buzzed. Hey, they're marking the perimeter. Act normal. I texted back. I'm done acting. His reply came fast. Then you're already losing. I put the phone down. Walked to the porch. Stood there long enough for the wind to notice me. I could feel it, eyes I couldn't see. Not watching my house. Watching me. Inside, the silence felt like a held breath. I cleaned the kitchen just to keep my hands busy. When I opened the pantry, a folded slip of paper slid to the floor. I picked it up. A single line. 8 p.m., come alone. No signature. No instructions. Just another doorway. And a clock that had already started ticking. I stared at the slip of paper until the numbers blurred. 8 p.m. Come alone. I felt strangely calm, like a man already underwater who finally stops fighting the current. The clock read 1:47 p.m. 6 hours until something. I texted Maya. Where are you? No answer. I waited 10 minutes, then 20. At 30 I drove, no plan, just motion. The sky hung low and gray, indecisive. I tried her studio first. The lights were on, music pulsing faintly through the glass, but the instructor at the desk said she hadn't been there all morning. She texted she'd be late, the woman said. That was hours ago. I nodded like this meant nothing. Like I wasn't holding a clock made of panic. Next I checked the pier. Empty. A gull stood where she'd stood yesterday, feathers ruffled like it knew more than I did. At 4:21 p.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown. Tonight is observation only. Do not speak unless instructed. I typed. Who is this? No reply. I drove home. Showered. Shaved. My hands were steady in the mirror. Too steady. I looked like myself but didn't feel like him. The man in the reflection was rehearsing calm, and fear was the script he folded behind his back. I dressed in dark clothes without deciding to. My body moved like it had been trained for this moment long before I was born. At 7:12 I sat alone in the living room. The house lights were off. Streetlight shadows painted long fingers across the floorboards. Every passing car made my pulse climb, then settle. At 7:37 the front door opened. Just opened. No knock. Maya stepped inside. She looked different, wrapped tight in a black windbreaker, hair tied back, cheeks colorless. The envelope was gone. You should have left, she whispered. Where? Anywhere. Her voice cracked. I thought I had more time. We go together, I said. She shook her head. They won't allow that. I don't care. It's too late, she said, and something in her tone hollowed me out. Once you show up tonight, you're in. If you don't show up, you're still in, just blind. And blind is worse. I stepped closer. Then tell me everything. She closed her eyes. I can't. I'm trying to keep you alive. A car rolled to a stop outside. Black. Silent. Maya opened her eyes, wet, terrified. If you run, they'll find you. If you stay, they'll test you. She swallowed. But if you trust me even now, maybe we can bend the rules. What rules? I whispered. Footsteps approached the porch. Slow. Deliberate. Maya grabbed my face with both hands, desperate, trembling. Whatever happens in there, Ethan, don't hate me. Please. The knock came, soft, knuckle to wood like a friend arriving for dinner. 3 taps. Then silence. Maya stepped back. You have to answer, she breathed. If I do, we both fail. I stared at the door. My heartbeat sounded like someone else's fist. I'm with you, I said. Her expression broke, hope and terror colliding. Remember that, she whispered. I reached for the handle. The porch light flicked on by itself, bright, obedient. Same as before. I opened the door. Cold air swept in. No one stood outside, just a single object resting on the welcome mat. A phone. Gray. Identical. Waiting. Its screen lit the dark. One message. Welcome. My breath lodged in my chest. Behind me, Maya whispered, voice cracking open. They've chosen you. And in that doorway, with the night leaning in, I understood something I had been refusing to see since the first midnight call. This wasn't a rescue. It wasn't an affair. It wasn't a mistake. It was a recruitment. And my marriage hadn't fallen apart. It had been collateral.